After becoming his kept canary, I was forced to follow manly virtues. No bodyguards, no outings, no parties if women were involved. Even when playing basketball, I had to be covered up tightly. Look at that guy, shopping in a mall with bodyguards. Is he the young master of some big corporation? I kept my head low, feeling as meek as a quail, while two burly men in black suits and sunglasses stood behind me. Yes, they were exactly like those ostentatious bodyguards you see in TV dramas. In the store, anything I glanced at for more than a second was immediately bought without consulting me. I wanted to stop them, but I didn't stand a chance. These bodyguards didn't take orders from me. Watching the black card swipe on the POS machine over and over, I couldn't even fathom how much was being spent. By the time I got in the car, the trunk was stuffed with countless luxury shopping bags. As the car started, my phone rang. Picking it up, I heard a familiar voice. "Did you enjoy shopping today?" I forced a smile, my tone dripping with sarcasm. Oh, I was thrilled. The whole mall was staring at me. "What do you think?" The voice on the other end remained calm and unaffected. "As long as you're happy." I had my doubts. Derek Dawson wasn't one to miss the nuances in my tone. He had to be pretending. "Derek, could you stop assigning those to bodyguards to follow me everywhere? I need my personal freedom too." The line went quiet for a moment before he replied, "Personal freedom or the black card, choose one." I stared at my phone, teeth clenched, utterly speechless. After a long pause, I finally relented. "I'll keep the card." Derek seemed to have predicted my response, and a faint chuckle drifted through the receiver. He's laughing. He's actually laughing. I'm this frustrated, and he finds it funny. This whole situation is mortifying to admit, but yes, I, a grown man, have ended up as the so-called kept canary of the business tycoon Derek Dawson. Every time I hear that title, I cringe. Canary? I'd rather be a hamster. At least it fits my zodiac sign, a monkey. After graduating from college, I landed a cushy job at a big company, steadily climbing the ranks. Life was smooth, or so I thought, until one day my mom called and blindsided me. "You must come home for the Lunar New Year," she said. "There's someone I want you to meet. When the Queen Mother of the West gives an order, you don't refuse." The moment I walked in, I saw her playing mahjong with Derek Dawson and to other people. As soon as I arrived, she pulled me over to join the game. One of the others, catching on quickly, excused themselves to watch TV. That was the first time I met Derek Dawson. He looked familiar, but I couldn't place where I'd seen him before. And then my mom, as if it were a blind date, started chatting with Derek while casually drawing tiles. Derek responded politely, smiling as he played along. It wasn't until they started talking about his mother that the pieces clicked. His mom and my mom had been best friends for decades. "Derek, you've grown up so much, and you're so handsome. If only you were my son." Derek played a tile and casually remarked, "If I married Denny Huber, wouldn't I become your son?" "Annie." "Pung." My mom gleefully scooped up the tile, beaming from ear. "Sounds great. I've always wanted a son like you." I was stunned. Wait, wasn't this supposed to be a mahjong game? What just happened? What's going on? I asked, utterly bewildered, pointing at myself. "You mean me?" My mom gave me a look like I was the village idiot, even rolling her eyes. "Who else? Do we have another Denny Huber in this family?" I played a 9 bamboo tile and rubbed my forehead in exasperation. "Mom, is it at all possible that I'm a man? And besides, I don't think Mr. Dawson and I are that familiar with each other." 9 bamboo. Chow. My mom happily scooped up the tile, grinning ear, then pointed toward my dad and Derek Dawson's dad, who were sitting comfortably on the sofa. "Your dad and his dad grew up together, and his mom and I are best friends. Each getting together would just strengthen our bond. No feelings. Feelings can be cultivated. That's not a big deal." I stared at my mom, who spoke as if this was a minor issue, rubbing my temples. "Mom, I'm a man. How can a man and another man be together?" I thought this would make her hesitate, but her next words completely left me speechless. "It's the era of free love. Men can't be together. Are you still living in the King Dynasty?" 5 bamboo. Derek Dawson chuckled lightly, as if the people we were discussing weren't him and me. "Mahjong." My mom happily flipped her tiles over, her win thanks to Derek's 3 bamboo discard. However, he showed no sign of annoyance, instead smiling warmly at my mom. "Annie, you're as sharp as ever. Just like back in the day." "Of course. Your mom has never beaten me at mahjong all these years." My mom beamed at the praise, completely oblivious to the 4 bamboo and 5 bamboo among Derek's discarded tiles. He had clearly calculated what my mom needed to win and deliberately led her. This man was a strategist through and through. Just as I was about to expose him, Derek pointed to a pile of documents on the table. At first, I thought they were certificates showing off some relative's kids' academic achievements, but as I got closer, I realized they were property deeds and car registrations stacked like a small mountain. All of these are under my name, Derek said calmly. If you're with me, they'll be yours too. I swallowed hard. Then he pulled out his phone, tapped a few times and turned the screen toward me. It was the website of the company I worked for after graduation. My eyes lit up instantly. If I wasn't mistaken, this was the tech giant I joined straight out of college, a company that dominates the industry. He's the owner? The man who had led the company to its current heights was standing right in front of me. Derek closed the webpage and leaned toward me, his voice low and steady. If you're with me, my assets will be yours, and all your expenses, food, clothes, housing, will be covered by me. I was practically drooling, but I still tried to hold on to my principles. Mr. Dawson, love can't be measured by money. Before I could finish, my mom, casually munching on an apple, placed 5 gold bars in my hand. My eyes sparkled immediately. Don't kid yourself, she said. When you were a baby. Why? Who grabbed the piece of gold during your grab test? When we made you try again, you grabbed a handful of cash. These 5 gold bars are Derek's gift to you. If you agree, they're yours. If not, I'll have to return them to him. I swallowed again. It wasn't that the property deeds weren't tempting, but the gold bars in front of me had a more immediate appeal. Holding the heavy gold bars in one hand, I reluctantly agreed to Derek Dawson. After all, we're both men. We can't get legally married or have kids. This way, at least I'd avoid the pressure of getting married and I'd have money to spend. Isn't this a win-win? So, right after the new year, my mom hired movers to transfer all my belongings to Derek's villa, under the guise of building a relationship. Let me just say, the saying money makes the world go round is no exaggeration. Ever since moving into Derek's villa, my life has been nothing short of luxurious. Not only did I achieve financial freedom early, but I also got to ride to work with my boss. However, being part of such a large company inevitably meant dealing with nosy colleagues. As soon as a few co-workers saw me getting out of Derek's car, rumors spread like wildfire. No way. Denny, did you just get out of the boss's car? Are you involved with him? Damn, Denny, you've got connections like that. By the end of the morning, half the office had gathered around me, bombarding me with questions, but I didn't dare say a word. Derek only gave me a ride because it was convenient. I figured he wouldn't want our relationship to become public. Don't all big shots in TV dramas prefer to keep their canaries a secret? I might have slipped into the role a little too well. It actually felt kind of fun, like cosplay. But since everyone had seen me getting out of his car, I couldn't outright deny it either. Her. My co-workers, hummy, her. I activated my foolproof dumb act. As long as I didn't directly address their questions, they could speculate all they wanted without any concrete proof. Eventually, seeing that I refused to respond, my co-workers stopped asking altogether. However, the entire office started saying I was Derek's canary with no voice or autonomy. On the bright side, no one thought I got the job through favoritism, because my abilities were well recognized. Since it didn't damage my reputation, I decided to let it go. One evening after work, I sat in the car with Derek. At first, it felt a bit awkward, but after a week of getting used to our dynamic, I grudgingly accepted our relationship for what it was. The warm yellow light inside the car cast a soft glow on Derek's face. His fluttering eyelashes, sharp jawline, and high-nose bridge. A face like his would stand out in any crowd. He was flipping through a document in his hands, and I couldn't help but sneak a few extra glances. The next moment, he turned his head toward me, startling me so much I quickly shifted my gaze to the scenery outside the window. Take a look at this, he said, handing me the document. It's a draft contract. I was confused. A contract for what? The corners of Derek's attractive lips curled upward slightly, and his peach blossom eyes held an expression I couldn't quite read. You could think of it as house rules. Under his watchful gaze, I opened the folder, revealing a list of stipulations. When going out, you must bring bodyguards. Failure to comply will result in 1 credit card being suspended. Attending gatherings with the opposite sex is prohibited. Violation will result in 3 days of reflection and 3 credit cards suspended. If caught cheating, the offender will leave with nothing. I pointed to the second rule and cautiously asked, "What about bars? Can I go?" "Quiet ones, no partying, just to have a drink." Derek didn't even look at me, his gaze fixed out the window. "No. If you go, you lose a month's allowance." "All right," I replied, outwardly obedient, though inwardly I was grinding my teeth. So I really was just his canary now. Still, with a monthly allowance of $3 million, these house rules were well worth following. After silently chanting money makes the world go round 3 times, I signed the contract. With the contract signed and me now living in his home, I guess Derek and I were officially in a relationship, albeit a contractual one. After half a year of living together, I began to feel like we weren't so much a couple as roommates. We didn't even sleep in the same bed, and he avoided even accidental physical contact. It didn't add up. He specifically asked my mom to let me stay with him, so he must like men, and by extension me. I had come to terms with the fact that my partner was a man. Besides the lack of physical affection, he treated me incredibly well. Honestly, living a lifetime with Derek didn't sound bad at all. After all, who wouldn't like a rich, handsome, and stylish CEO? But the fact that we hadn't even held hands left me feeling defeated. This couldn't go on. If Derek Dawson could stay abstinent, I couldn't. Since I had some vacation days, I decided to make use of my free time while Derek was at work. At the bookstore, I came across a book titled, How to Win a Man's Heart. The bodyguard trailing me hesitated for a moment as I paid, but his professionalism kept his expression neutral as he bought the book for me. Once home, I eagerly opened the book, only to discover it was a cookbook. On the second page, in bold letters, it read, The way to a man's heart is through his stomach. I facepalmed but chuckled. Maybe this could work. Armed with the book, my enthusiasm, and a kitchen, I set out to work. After several hours of effort, I looked at the spread on the table and felt a sense of accomplishment. I was a genius. When Derek came home at 7 p.m., the aroma of food filled the air as he stepped inside. What's the occasion? Did the housekeeper prepare all this? He asked, walking over to the dining table. Seeing the surprise in his eyes, I couldn't help but feel a little smug. Nope. I gave the housekeeper the day off. I made all of this myself. I handed him chopsticks and served him a bowl of freshly steamed rice. Derek Dawson sat down and cautiously took a bite of the dish in front of him. Under my expectant gaze, he nodded. It's delicious. Better than what you get in a restaurant. My heart skipped a beat. Such high praise. Could it be that I had a natural talent for cooking? As I watched him take a few more bites, looking as composed as ever, I finally relaxed and started eating as well. The moment the food touched my tongue, I couldn't help but spit it out. Why was it so salty? I tried another dish, only to be hit with an overwhelming sour-salty flavor. Ugh, this was horrible. How on earth had Derek managed to eat it so calmly? Derek, if it tastes bad, just say so. Why put up with it? Saying that, I dumped all the food on the table into the trash. Wasting food was shameful, but this was just inedible. Derek watched me, unable to suppress his laughter. Then he walked over, gently took my hands, covered in small cuts from my amateur cooking, and held them. This was your first time cooking. If I said it wasn't good, what if he never cooked for me again? I stared at the hand he was holding. It was the first time I felt the warmth of his touch, and it was oddly comforting. I looked up into his eyes, seeing nothing but sincerity, with no trace of deceit. His gaze made me feel shy, and I instinctively turned my head away. That's when it hit me. He wasn't nodding in praise earlier. He had been forcing himself to eat the food. This is so embarrassing. From then on, I stuck to ordering takeout with Derek. Cooking was supposed to bring us closer, and despite the awful result, it surprisingly worked. A few days later, I received some amazing news. I got promoted. This had nothing to do with Derek. It was entirely thanks to me landing a $50 million deal, which bumped me straight up to a director position with my own office. Sitting in my leather office chair, I spun around gleefully, only to stop dead in my tracks when I noticed something. Through 2 layers of glass, Derek was staring straight at me. Startled, I quickly straightened up in my chair. Oh no, how did I not realize when moving in earlier? My new office was right across from Derek's. Worse, the glass was transparent, meaning he could see everything I did. I'd hoped having my own office would give me some leeway to slack off occasionally. But now, forget slacking. I didn't even dare to breathe loudly. While I was still in a daze, Derek waved at me through the glass. Since it was work hours and he was my boss, the one signing my paychecks, I obediently trotted over. To my surprise, I was handed a coffee and a sandwich. You didn't eat lunch while moving offices, did you? Have this to hold you over. For dinner, I'd like tomato and scrambled eggs. Ever since the cooking incident, Derek had enforced a rule. I had to learn 1 dish per week. It wasn't too hard, and making him happy might even mean an increase in my allowance. Why not? I sat on the sofa in his office, quietly eating my sandwich. The only sound in the room was the rustling of his papers. Derek wore glasses when working. While glasses often diminish someone's looks, on him. They only added to his charm. I don't know why. But after finishing the last bite of my sandwich, I impulsively walked over to his desk, my shadow falling over his paperwork. Derek looked up at me, his expression curious. Then, without thinking, I extended my hand toward him. Sure, trying to hold his hand while he was working was odd, but it wasn't entirely inappropriate, right? Apparently, Derek didn't catch my intention. He turned and handed me his pen. I stared at the pen in my hand, completely stunned. For a moment, the silence was deafening. Help. This is so awkward. Gripping the pen, I dashed back to my office and randomly opened a file, pretending to write something with it. What was I even thinking? Why would I randomly walk up to my boss while he was working and silently hold out my hand like that? I'm such an idiot. The entire afternoon, I kept my head down, focusing on work. I didn't even dare glance in his direction. Just seeing Derek now filled me with embarrassment. I thought the incident would blow over by the evening, but on the ride home, Derek unexpectedly brought it up himself. Did I misunderstand you this afternoon? I noticed there are a lot of pens on your desk. I lowered my head again like a quail, feeling my cheeks heat up. How was I supposed to explain this? Seeing my awkwardness, Derek didn't push further. I think I might have misunderstood you earlier, but after reconsidering, I think I figured it out. Before I could react, Derek took my hand in his. Were you trying to hold my hand at lunch today? Caught red-handed, I didn't deny it. Instead, I nodded, my face burning. Derek leaned closer, and in the next moment, he pulled me into his arms. His pleasant voice came softly to my ear. If you want to hold my hand or hug me, you can just tell me. That's all part of the contract. I looked up at him from his embrace, curiosity filling my gaze. So, does that mean I can hug you while you're working too? Derek paused, his ears turning slightly red. You can, as long as I'm not too busy. We stayed like that until we got home, and even as we walked through the door, Derek kept holding my hand. For the first time, I felt like we were getting closer to being a real couple. Recently, Derek had a new assistant named Amanda Marley. Amanda had an impeccable figure, and her professional attire only enhanced her sharp, capable demeanor. Her light makeup gave her a radiant, polished appearance every day. I didn't feel any dislike toward her. After all, talented people in the workforce include many women, and from her actions, I could tell she was serious about her job. Following Derek around gave her ample opportunity to showcase her abilities. However, as the end of the year approached, the company's workload increased, and Amanda and Derek were constantly together. They had back-to-back meetings every day, often spending the entire day out at the office. Derek hadn't even been coming home with me lately, always texting to say he was busy working late. Amanda was always by his side. Unconsciously, I had already learned to cook many dishes, but Derek hadn't had the chance to taste them due to his busy schedule. After finishing dinner alone one night, I stood on the balcony, staring off into the distance. My mind wandered to all those TV dramas where the CEO's assistant would seize the opportunity to get close, eventually replacing the original partner. I quickly shook off the thought. After a year together, I didn't think Derek would do something like that. Besides, our contract clearly stated, if either party cheats, they leave with nothing. To stop overthinking, I went to bed early. The next morning, I didn't see Derek. Even the slippers at the entrance were untouched, sending a wave of unease through me. I quickly called his number, but the person who answered was Amanda Marley. Director Huber, is there something I can help you with? Her voice immediately triggered a sense of hostility in me. Where's Mr. Dawson? Why are you answering his phone? Mr. Dawson is in City A for a meeting. He instructed me to take all calls from company personnel while he's busy. I froze for a moment at her words. City A. It was the neighboring city. No wonder he didn't come home last night. It's a 3-hour drive from the company to City A. Director Huber, do you have a message for Mr. Dawson? No, it's fine, I replied, feeling a bit dejected. It wasn't that Amanda had taken the call. It was the fact that Derek hadn't even told me he was going to City A. That day, I was completely distracted at work. Even fetching water, I instinctively headed to Derek's office before realizing he wasn't there. I ended up going to the old office pantry instead. Just as I approached the door, I overheard two co-workers gossiping inside. That new executive assistant of the CEO's is quite the background. I heard she was Mr. Dawson's senior in college. Back when his company was just starting out, Amanda Marley's father invested in it. He's now one of the company's major shareholders. Oh my God. No wonder she immediately started going on business trips with Mr. Dawson. Previous assistants always had to undergo training before starting. Aren't business trips usually reserved for staff with stable positions? Clearly, you're new here. Amanda's father once arranged for her to work under Mr. Dawson for a while. She's already familiar with the job, so it's no surprise. She's tagging along on trips now. There's even a rumor that Amanda's father wants her to marry Mr. Dawson. Someone saw Amanda, her father, Mr. Dawson, and his parents leaving a restaurant together. I think that's when they arranged the engagement. Later, Amanda went abroad for further studies, and now that she's back, Mr. Dawson has placed her by his side again. I froze in place. Amanda and Derek had known each other for a long time, and I didn't know any of this. I quickly left the break room, not even bothering to get water. Tears welled up and started streaming down my face uncontrollably. If Amanda really was Derek's fiancée, then what did that make me? Just a canary he could toss aside at any moment. That evening, Derek sent me a message. The meeting came up suddenly. I wanted to tell you, but my phone died, and I couldn't charge it in the car. As soon as I arrived, I had to head straight into the meeting. It's done now, and I'll be back at the office tonight. I'd wrap up work and come home. Be good and wait for me at home. I've been craving your cooking. Reading his explanation, my mood lightened a little. I forced myself to think positively. The rumors about Derek and Amanda's engagement were just gossip from two nameless co-workers. In the break room, hardly reliable. We were in a relationship now, and Derek was so busy, I couldn't let my thoughts spiral. I prepared all the new dishes I'd learned recently, packed them into a food carrier, and asked the bodyguard to drive me to the office. Derek probably hadn't eaten much after getting out of his car. Looking at the neatly packed dishes, I felt a small, sweet sense of accomplishment. It had been days since Derek and I had had a proper conversation. When I arrived, the lights in the CEO's office were still on. I took the elevator up, but the glass windows were covered with curtains, obscuring the view inside. Holding the food carrier, I was about to push open the door to surprise him when I heard Derek's voice from behind the glass. Where do you think would be a good venue for the wedding? Personally, I like outdoor garden weddings. It was Amanda's voice. It felt as if the blood in my veins froze. A wedding. Derek and I couldn't even register our marriage, let alone plan a wedding, which meant he could only be talking about this with Amanda. So, the break room rumors were true. What did that make me a joke? A casual fling born out of a playful remark between parents. All those promises about loyalty during the relationship, lies. Empty words of the rich. I placed the food carrier by the office door without much thought. I wouldn't be cooking or delivering meals to Derek anymore. This could be the last one. Instead of taking the car home, I hailed a taxi. Back at the house, I started packing my suitcase. Though the gifts Derek had given me were exactly to my taste, they were from an almost ex. How could I keep them? I didn't need Derek's leave with nothing close. I had a job, and I could support myself. Once everything was packed, I was about to leave when Derek burst through the door, panting slightly. His furrowed brow relaxed when he saw me. Where are you going? The bodyguard told me you brought me food. I didn't come back down. When I went to the office door, I saw the food carrier outside. Why didn't you bring it in? He reached out to take my hand. You were inside discussing wedding plans with your fiancé. How could I dare to go in? Oh, I just didn't feel like going in, I replied flatly yes, stepping aside to avoid his hand. Derek paused, clearly surprised by my reaction. His gaze shifted to the suitcase by my side. Where are you going? Why are you taking a suitcase? I looked at Derek's slightly puzzled expression, anger bubbling inside me. He had already cheated, and I wasn't even demanding him to leave everything behind. Wasn't my quietly leaving exactly what he'd want? Why was he stopping me now? Annoyed, I turned my face away to avoid looking at him. I'm going to a bar. I'm not coming back tonight. Hearing that, Derek's expression darkened. He grabbed the hand I had just pulled away and held it firmly, his demeanor turning stern. Didn't Huber, didn't I say going to a bar will cost you a month's allowance? And if you're not staying here, where will you stay? Or, his voice lowered, and his eyes glinted like a predator's locking onto its prey. Are you planning to stay with someone else? I clenched my teeth in frustration. Take away the allowance if you want. You've already cheated. Are you still trying to control me? Go ahead, deduct it. And where I stay or who I stay with has nothing to do with you. After all, everything you've done for me was just because of the contract, right? Derek seemed genuinely shocked, as if he never heard me speak to him in that tone before. The next second, he hoisted me onto his shoulder without warning, and my suitcase was tossed into the corner of the living room. He carried me straight into his bedroom. I was so stunned I forgot to resist. We'd always slept in separate rooms, so this was my first time entering his bedroom, and it was by being thrown onto his bed. What kind of progression was this? Skipping the kiss and going straight to... Wait, now, Why was I even thinking about progression when we were breaking up? Derek planted his hands on either side of my head, blocking most of the light above. All I could see was his sharp, handsome face and his slightly loosened tie. For some reason, the atmosphere between us seemed to heat up. Who said I'm good to you because of the contract? His voice was hoarse, as if he was suppressing certain emotions. And don't forget, the one who cheats leaves with nothing. His words broke my resolve. Tears streamed down my face, unstoppable. You dare say that? I heard it all. You were discussing wedding venues with Amanda. If anyone cheated, it's you. You should be the one leaving with nothing. Hearing this, Derek froze briefly. Then, the corners of his lips curled into a handsome smile. Seeing him laugh only made me angrier. Was he mocking me because I caught him laughing in defiance? I was indeed discussing wedding venues with Amanda, he said. My breath hitched. Was he confessing? He gently helped me sit up and used his cool fingertips to wipe away my tears. We were discussing the venue for our wedding. For ours? His smile deepened and his fingers softly traced my cheek. Do you remember the first time I went to your house? I told you I wanted to marry you. But we're both men. We can't get a marriage license, I murmured, my voice shaky. Derek's eyes softened, overflowing with affection as they met mine. True, but I won't skip any part of the ceremony I can give you. He explained the entire conversation to me. After Amanda had said, personally, I like outdoor garden weddings, the part I didn't hear was, but of course, it depends on Mr. Huber's personal preferences. Hearing his explanation, I finally realized it was all a massive misunderstanding. Still, I remember the gossip in the break room, but they said they saw you and both families dining together. First, Amanda's father is one of the company's shareholders. Second, when I studied abroad, Amanda happened to want to study the same field. Her father organized a dinner and asked me to mentor her for a while, before she went overseas. When she came back, my assistant position was vacant, so I repaid her father's favor by hiring her. She's talented and brings great value to the company. I nodded. So, it really had just been a rumor. This was a perfect example of why you shouldn't believe or spread gossip. By the way, Derek added, Amanda is already married. That's why I asked for her input on Wayne's. She's more experienced. I was completely stunned. Amanda looks like she's around 23 or 24. She was already married. With the misunderstanding cleared up, Derek and I exchanged glances and couldn't help but laugh. Are you hungry? I'll go cook for you, I said, starting to get up. But before I could, Derek pulled me back into his arms. I already ate the food you brought. Your cooking has improved a lot, but it must have gone cold, right? Derek lightly tapped my nose. If I didn't eat it, someone's heart might have gone cold instead. That sudden remark sent shivers through me, and I turned my face away, embarrassed, not wanting him to see my flushed expression. But Derek wasn't about to let me get away. He firmly grabbed my chin and turned my head back toward him. His eyes, no longer restrained as usual, were filled with a mix of affection and desire. I'm really happy, he said, his voice laced with joy. Because you were jealous. Does that mean you like me too? Before I could respond, his lips descended on mine. I didn't push him away. Instead, I wrapped my arms around his neck. Surprised by my reaction, Derek pressed me down onto the bed, deepening the kiss as he claimed my lips with fervor. The atmosphere between us grew increasingly heated, clothes ending up scattered on the floor and bed. Amid the passionate chaos, our fingers intertwined. In Derek's bedroom, our relationship took a significant leap forward. If our interactions before were like a gentle stream, tonight was a raging waterfall, intense and unstoppable. By the end of the night, we had become true lovers. After an exhausting night, I slept in until late morning, something completely unheard of for me. As the bright sunlight streamed through the windows, I instinctively jumped out of bed, only to freeze when I saw Derek lying beside me. Seeing him, I quickly retreated back under the covers. If the boss can be late, I guess I can too, right? Another lunar new year arrived. This time, we were gathered around the mahjong table again, but my mom had been replaced by Derek's mom as my upstream player. It's about time you finally got Denny, his mom said cheerfully. I've been wanting to call him my son-in-law for ages. Derek's face was full of happiness. I told you I'd bring him back for you, didn't I? Derek's mom leaned toward me, her face brimming with smiles. Denny, you don't know this, but this boy has been thinking about you since he was a kid. Huh? I blinked, confused. In my memory, Derek and I barely knew each other. Maybe we met as kids, but if so, I must have been too young to remember. Seeing my confusion, Derek's mom pulled out a photo album. That's when I realized, aside from college, Derek and I had attended the same schools growing up. He was just 2 years ahead of me. My mom had even asked him to look out for me in secret, though he never mentioned it to me. That night, as I lay in his arms, I asked, "Why didn't you approach me back then?" Derek gently stroked my head, his voice incredibly tender. "Mom told me you loved money. She said unless I achieved something, you wouldn't even look my way. So, I worked hard, made my money, built my company, and came to you the first chance I got." Ugh, my mom. Truly my biological mom, huh? What if someone else had stolen me away in the meantime? I teased. "I wasn't worried," he said with a calm smile. "Mom promised me she'd keep an eye on you and make sure that didn't happen." My thoughts drifted back to years ago. No wonder my mom constantly asked if I liked anyone, warning me that she'd break my legs if I dared to date too early. Turns out, this was her plan all along. Well, fine. I guess I was the last one to know my lifelong partner had been decided from the start. Thankfully, that person was Derek, and he hadn't made me wait too long. In early spring, we got married in my favorite church. The wedding wasn't extravagant. We only invited our parents and a small circle of people who sincerely wished us well. In the presence of the priest, we made solemn vows and shared a kiss under the gaze of our loved ones. Derek gave me the wedding of my dreams. On a beautiful spring day, surrounded by blossoming flowers and chirping birds, we promised to be together forever. Epilogue. 3 years into our marriage, Derek still wouldn't let me go to a bar. "I haven't gone in ages. Just this once, please. If you're worried, you can come with me, okay?" I clung to his arm, employing my best puppy eye charm. Strangely, my usual tactics worked on everything except this. Derek remained unmoved. When the pleading didn't work, I resorted to throwing a tantrum. "I don't care. I'm going tonight." Derek didn't even lift his head. "Fine. Then I'll cancel the order for that limited edition supercar you wanted." I froze. "Hubby, maybe I'll go next month instead." Sobbing internally, I wondered if anyone had tips for persuading a stubborn man. Suggestions welcome. Waiting online.